Hi, I'm Janeane.
Okay.
This is KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and this is Get the Funk Out. Standing by to join me is G.E. Smith. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Janeane. It's great to be here. Irvine, I played Irvine. Isn't there
Amphitheater?
the amphitheater?
Yes.
And then something else used to be there like a long time ago, like in the 80s. There was an outdoor venue near Irvine.
Oh, the
Was it Walnut Creek?
uh
Or is that somewhere
I
else?
wasn't living there then, but no, there was near Wild Rivers. There was something else. Or
Maybe.
that
Anyway,
is-
I've played Irvine for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And you said you're out of New York or outside
Right.
of
Well,
New York.
I lived in New York City, obviously, for many, many years. But now we're out in Amagansett, which is straight out in the ocean from New York City on Long Island,
Got
about
it.
70, 80 miles.
Okay, nice.
It's nice. Yeah.
How are you doing with the quarantine and
Well, obviously, I'm fine. Luckily, me and my wife and our daughter, we're healthy. Nobody got
Good.
sick, which is great. Some
Fantastic.
friends of ours have gotten sick. We just heard this morning a very good friend of my wife, Taylor is her name, my wife, very good friend of hers just found out, that she's got it and she's not feeling well. She's in
Ugh.
Florida. So, but we've been lucky.
Good.
Now,
So-
not being able to play,
I know.
obviously, is terrible on a bunch of levels,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw a video of you, it's an interview with you, and you talked about, I think you were 10 or 11, and it was January 13th, 1952.
That's the guitar that my mom bought me
Yeah.
back then in January of 63.
Oh,
For
63.
my 11th birthday. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And we went out to get me a guitar because an opportunity had come up for me to play with some people and make some money, older people,
Okay.
But my 11th birthday was coming up. So me and my mom went shopping, and in our little town in Pennsylvania, there wasn't a lot of choice, but there were two good used electric guitars. There was a Gibson and a Fender.
Okay.
The Gibson was $200. The Fender was $100. So there was no doubt we were going to get the Fender,
Right.
I have a little booklet where my mom paid it off $15 a month,
Love it.
and I still have that guitar. I was born January 27th,
Mhm.
1952, and the guitar is dated January 13th, 1952. So we were meant to be together.
I love it. And you continue to play that guitar.
I still have that guitar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Fender Telecaster, and it's a wonderful instrument. And I've played that on everything I ever did.
I love that.
Yeah.
Before we started, you were talking about how having that guitar gives you such peace of mind and ease and comfort. What do you think it is that made you gravitate towards the guitar?
Well, I got a guitar when I was 4. I went down in the basement with my mom. She was going to go do the laundry, so she took me downstairs to keep an eye on me. I was only 4.
Yeah.
And I said, "What's that thing hanging on the wall?" And she said, "Oh, that used to belong to your Uncle George, who I'm named after." She said, "It used to belong to your Uncle George." I said, "What is it?" She said, "It's called a guitar." I said, "Can I have it?" So she gave it to me, and this was in the summer. And I took it out in the backyard, and I would lay it in front of me, and I would bang on the low string. It was an old acoustic guitar from the 30s, just a cheapo,
Sure.
special collegiate brand it was. And something about watching that string vibrate,
Mhm.
just really got to me. And at some point, when you're little and you figure things out,
Yes.
at some point I went, "Oh, the vibration makes the sound."
Mhm.
And then I went, "Oh, yeah, buildings, straight lines, up in the air, down on the ground," because when you're a baby, you're just in this little ball of everything.
Sure.
Then at some point you figure out the world,
Yeah.
to whatever extent we each figure it out. And yeah, so I've always had a guitar, so it just feels natural to me to have it on. What I mentioned to you before was that people will often ask me if I'm nervous when I go out on stage in front of a great big audience.
Yeah.
And I say, no, I'm not nervous when I put that guitar on. then I'm okay. It's the rest of the time,
Right.
normal life.
I get
Then
it.
I'm
I get it. It was cool reading your bio, how you were with Hall and Oates. I think it was it 79 to 82,
79 to 85.
85?
Yeah, 6 years.
Because I was a teenager
Mhm.
cranking up those albums in my
Yeah.
room in Stanford. And little did I know.
Yep. We made
Yes.
some good records there. When I first joined the band in the summer of 79, they were in a little bit of a slump. They were finishing up a record. They had been using different guitar players, and I came in, and it just worked out good. We're all Pennsylvania guys. Daryl and John are both from Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
and we got along good, and musically we got along good. We went out on the road, and I was getting $200 a month. Not a month, $200 a week, $100 to play the guitar, and
Mm-hmm.
$100 to drive one of the station wagons, because we were going
Okay.
around in like 3 station wagons with our gear and everybody, and playing joints. I mean, we were playing bars and any place we could. But
Sure.
pretty quick, things went up and continued to go up, and in the 80s, obviously, early 80s, it was first 5-6 years of the 80s, they were just the biggest thing going.
Sure. Yeah. I love their music.
I was really lucky to be there. Yeah, they made good, they wrote good songs, great performers. We had a really good band. We were just lucky. We were just right. And we were the dawn of MTV.
Mm-hmm.
We were right there. Their manager at the time was a fellow called Tommy Mottola.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, Tommy was hooked up. He knew those people that were going to put MTV on the air. So we made videos before. So we were ready. When that came on, we had 7 or 8 videos ready to
Ahead
go.
of your time.
Yeah, it was lucky.
Very cool. And how did you get involved with SNL?
In the late 70s, when I moved to New York City, um, I got I had played for a while with a band called Desmond Child and Rouge, and we did a tour of the United States and made a record, really good record. Sometimes it's funny. I was thinking about this morning. I've played on some really good records that were not hits, and I played on some really good records that were hits.
Sure.
I played on some crappy records that were hits too. We won't talk about those. But anyway, I played with this Desmond Child and Rouge band. Desmond then went on to write lots of big songs. He wrote with Aerosmith, Bon
Wow.
Jovi, like big songs.
Sure.
Love in an Elevator. I'm pretty sure that's him. Dude Looks Like a Lady. Anyway, the girls, Rouge, who were the singers, 3 of them, they got the job. Gilda Radner from SNL was doing a one-woman show on Broadway
Yes.
in the summer of 78. And they got the job being in that show. And then they were holding auditions for the band, for like the house band,
Yeah.
And I went in, the girls got me the audition to come in and audition as the guitar player. And I got
Cool.
the job. And then as things happen, you meet everybody. But me and Gilda wound up getting married eventually.
Sure.
We were married for a few years. And that's how I met all the Saturday Night Live people.
Amazing.
And when Saturday Night Live started in 1975, ran to 1980, and then Lorne Michaels, who had created the show, left the show.
Right.
And he was going to come back now. 1985 comes. I'm playing with Daryl and John. The last show that we did was Live Aid, I think, in the middle of the summer of 85. And then they wanted to take a break because we'd been working for 6 years straight.
Whoa.
Touring around the world, took about 9 months every year, and then make a new record for a couple months, couple weeks off, back out on the road, 9 months, make another,
What a life.
Yeah, it was great. I'm not complaining.
Mhm.
And then so they stopped in the middle of the summer of 85. So I'm like, okay, great, And then the fall of 85 comes up. Lorne Michaels is going back to the show. He gets a hold of me and asks me to do the band. So
Whoa.
just, I've been very lucky to meet some people along the way, that
Yeah.
kept things moving.
What was that like, that whole experience? I mean, look at the musical experience, but also the talent you got to meet.
It was great. I mean, it was so much fun, uh, to be there, me as a band guy, to be there like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers,
Mm.
Pearl Jam, Nirvana was on a couple times. So many uh, uh, great acts. I got to play with Al Green
Whoa.
twice, you know, um, lots of stuff. We would often get to play with people that came on. Some of us
So
from the
cool.
band, and yeah, it was just like I was just so lucky to be in these places and get to do these things.
By the way, growing up, did you take lessons? Were you self-taught? Did you train yourself? Ear training?
Um, so I'm 4, I get the little guitar. I'm knocking it around in the backyard. By the time I'm like 7, I've kind of figured out how to play like C, F, G, a couple chords, and I'm starting to figure things out. I might have got a book, with some chord shapes in it.
Good.
And but where I lived in Pennsylvania, there was nothing going on back then. There were no. This is pre-Beatles. So
Whoa. So no.
it's not like everybody on earth plays the guitar like it is now.
Especially electric.
Especially electric, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I was still just playing acoustic.
Okay.
So when I was 7, again out in that same backyard, and Uncle George, whose guitar it used to be, comes over with his girlfriend at the time, and she sees me and goes, "Oh, you can kind of play. Do you want a real guitar?" Well, I'm 7, of course. I say, "Yeah."
Of course. Yeah.
He shows up a couple days later, not only with a decent instrument, a Martin guitar, which is really very good guitar, made in Pennsylvania. She shows up with a Martin guitar, and more importantly, like a 14-year-old Irish girl who was her nanny that summer for her kids. And the Irish girl played, and she taught me some things.
Amazing.
And that really got me started. I wish I remembered her name. I don't. I still have the piece of paper where she wrote down some stuff. She taught me an Irish song called Mari's Wedding. And the thing that she really taught me, though, is finger picking. Instead of just using a pick,
Yes.
right? She taught me to pick with my fingers, like it's called Travis picking, after a guy named Merle Travis from Kentucky.
Okay.
But so she got me started, on the road to actually sort of being able to play.
That's amazing.
And then I was off and running.
Off and running. Whoa. Do you find that my show, it's called Get the Funk Out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that guitar has been your way of keeping sane at times when life was really bumpy?
Yes, both sane and insane. I think it took me both places. I'm being very serious. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds funny, but I'm being very serious. Yes, it
Sure.
took me to both places.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's always a place, no matter what's going on, I can at some point get off by myself, pick up a guitar or a mandolin.
Mm-hmm.
I play a lot of mandolin, and it's comforting. It is.
Sure. Which we need right now.
Sure thing. We always need it. We always need a little
Yeah.
comfort, but right now for sure.
Yeah. Tell me about, you've got some new music. Tell me about the work you've been doing now.
In January of 2019, my wife, Taylor Barton, she was listening to some playlist or something, some Spotify or whatnot. And I hear this singer. And I go, "Who is that?" She says, "Well, his name's LeRoy Bell. He's a guy from Seattle."
Mm-hmm.
That's the voice. I've been looking for a singer for like 30 years. It's the hardest thing to find. Drummers and singers are the hardest thing to find, because they're really the most important thing in the band. It's rhythm-based music,
Sure.
rock and roll, blues, it's rhythm-based music. So it
Mm-hmm.
starts with the drummer.
Yeah.
And then you got to have a great singer. I can play the guitar a little bit, but I'm not a great singer. You need a world-class singer if you're really going to do something. You need Daryl Hall or
Yeah.
somebody with that kind of voice. Never been able to get a hold of one. And I said, this is the guy. So Taylor gets a hold of him, finds his management, and invites him, and he comes here to our house in January 2019, and we got along really good. And he's a good songwriter, and he had written some new songs, and we sat down and started playing them. And then 2 days later, we were starting to go to the studio, and we got it all recorded over the next few months. It was done by last fall, and it was supposed to be released first in March. We
Oh,
were going to
great.
South by Southwest,
Okay.
introduce our project. It's called Stony Hill, the project, but it's G.E. Smith and LeRoy Bell. And we were going to play 3 sets over a couple days in Texas there at South by Southwest. And then we were going to go out on tour, you know,
Yes.
what you got to do. You got to go out and make friends, introduce the record to people. And then, of course, here comes the old 1-9, and
Exactly.
the virus got us, and we were, boom. So I think that, you know, it's hard to tell, but I think if nothing had happened as far as the virus, I think we would have really been able to get somewhere, because it's a really good record. It's got some songs on it that speak to all the things that are going on today. You know, LeRoy's black, obviously. I'm white. You know, it's a good mix. Me and him, it's funny. We laugh. We both grew up listening to the same records. You know, like we both loved all the R&B stuff, the Motown stuff. You know, the Temptations, the Four Tops, the Supremes. We also love the Memphis stuff, Al Green. You know,
Sure.
but at the same time, we were listening to Cream and the Who and the Stones and Rush. We both love Rush, you know.
So similar. So similar.
So we have that mix of the, you know, and that's American music. It's that mix of the two things, you know, the black music and the white music.
Right.
That's what makes the funk, you know. That's what makes it good.
You bet.
In my ears.
Yeah.
So we got along really good. But the virus really has hurt us. So the record finally got released. They put out a couple of the singles. We have a song called America.
I love that one.
I think it's good, you know.
It's really good.
But because of the virus, we've had a very difficult time, frankly, to getting it out to people, getting it, because there's so much stuff
I know
in this time. There's always so much stuff coming out.
Yeah.
But I think it really hurt us that we couldn't go out and play live. So
right. But you must have had good press for it, haven't you?
We had pretty decent press. Rolling Stone was very kind to us.
Yes, saw that.
Some places that I thought would have been excited about it weren't, and I'll never know why. You know, it's a funny thing, the entertainment business.
You're right.
And there is so much stuff coming out, good stuff. You know, and the younger people, we're old guys, you know, younger people are coming along and putting out good stuff. Now the young ones are always going to come in. I was a young guy once, and I pushed out the old guys that were ahead of me, you know, so that's just how it happens.
Right.
But I think that if we could get people to hear it a little more, I think they'd really like it, because it's a good record.
Sure. Well, I'm going to feature a couple of songs on this segment. You know, I'm just going to feature America.
Great.
Taylor sent it to me, and maybe a couple other ones. So absolutely. Good. Yeah. What would you tell people right now who are musicians who are struggling?
Wow, we're all struggling. You know, I've worked, I think, since March, maybe 4 or 5 times, you know, and obviously not live in front of an audience. You know, I did one studio date. I did 7, me and LeRoy did some online things, you know, and I don't know, what can we do? What can anybody, not just musicians, you know, there's all kinds of people have had their jobs heavily affected by this.
Yes.
And what can we do? You know, we hang in there and hope this vaccine comes along, and that in 6 months from now, we'll all be able to do what we used to do. It's going to be interesting. a lot of the places where people like me play, you know, they're going to be gone.
I know.
These clubs they can't survive for a year
Right.
without doing shows.
Right.
You know, they have a 2-week kind of gap, a lot of them, you know, where they got enough money to survive for 2 weeks without doing something, not for a year.
Sure.
So it's really hard. It's
You
really
know what I
hard.
was thinking though recently? Here you have these stadiums where you have football games, and I guess
Right.
you don't have fans there, but they broadcast it. Why couldn't venues broadcast a concert, with a bunch of musicians and have people pay to watch it?
I
Or
think that they're trying to do some of that. And early on, like, April, May, some of that stuff was doing okay. But now people are overwhelmed by how much is on there.
right.
And I know that even some like pretty big acts have done things, and they just don't get that many people to pay to watch it because there's so much free stuff on.
Sure. But it's
Folks
too
want everything to
bad.
be free now
I know.
on the
Well, the
internet.
other thing they could offer is a chance to actually have something like this, like to actually meet the artist before or after as a perk.
Yeah, that's a nice thing, you know. Um, I don't know the answer. I think
Yeah,
that everybody was pretty hopeful at
we
first. The
were.
musicians, we were all pretty hopeful, men and women that I've talked to, uh, were all pretty hopeful. I know people that have done lots of stuff, that have done a couple hundred online things. I know people that have done 4 or 5 like me,
Yeah.
and nobody seems to have been tremendously successful at it.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's not the same connection as being there.
Nothing like being there. The biggest couple things that I know personally, people that I know, happened when they did last summer. They did some drive-in concerts,
Oh, yes.
where people came in their cars, and the band was right there in front of them. So it was a
That
show.
works.
It was a
Yeah.
show, and you're sitting in your car. There was some problems though with some of them where people got out of their cars and were dancing, and
Oh,
then towns had to say, "Oh, you can't do that anymore." And
no
people,
dancing.
yeah, no dancing.
Aw. Well, I think for me, my dad bought me a guitar at 14, and
Really?
I broke up with it like a relationship. But I remember living in Boston and taking lessons for 9 years. I was dreaming I was an outstanding guitarist, and I thought,
Mhm.
hello, pay attention to this dream. And music has really carried me through some challenging times. It's been the thing I'll turn to when I need an escape.
Right.
So it's so inspiring. And I remember watching you on SNL. And at first I was
Yeah,
like,
there we
who
were.
is that cool guy? Yeah.
It's funny. Most people got a pretty positive impression from me,
Hmm.
on TV. But of course, not everybody's gonna like it. I remember
Right.
one day at the kind of height of the time I was there, after I'd been there for 5 or 6 years, uh, and I was living in New York City. What I loved would be like when the city garbage trucks would come down the street, maybe, and this really happened. Great big, like 250-pound guy working as sanitation worker. Oh, GE, how you doing, man? I'm
Nice.
like, yes. Or a couple times, like undercover cops, plain clothes, pull over and
Mhm.
go. They see me carrying my guitars. Go, GE, man, you need a ride? Let's give you a ride somewhere. Stuff like that. But one time, I'm walking down 7th Avenue, and one of those like bike messenger guys goes by,
Mhm.
looking at me. And I kind of look at him, and and then he goes, "Oh, you suck! You suck!" And I went, "Oh, that's great! I loved it. I loved it."
Really?
Because not everybody's gonna like you, and I just thought,
Yeah.
yes, you know, freedom goes both ways, right? I mean,
True.
look at today. If people would just think about that, I mean, look, I'm so happy that Biden and Harris got elected. I'm personally very happy about that, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Not everybody obviously is
I
happy
know.
with
I
that,
know.
but both the Trump folks and people like me that think like I do have to realize freedom goes both ways.
Yes.
You're allowed to like that. Now, I think perhaps, uh, uh, some of the stuff that he says, no, it's
Mhm.
beyond when he encourages the white nationalism and all that stuff. No,
Right.
I'm not down with that. But the basic idea of freedom going both ways, if people would realize that and relax, we're all Americans, you
Right.
know. Anyway,
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I think it gave a lot of us a sense of positivity right now.
right. I think it did.
Yeah.
But a lot of folks are real shook up about it too,
Oh, I know.
So, but we'll, hopefully we'll get through this next, about another month or so, and
Yeah.
then that'll be all over with, and we can, well, hopefully relax a little.
I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope so. Yeah. What is your day? What's the day like for you right now? Like, are you playing a lot? Are you collaborating? You know?
Um, Not so much collaborating because there's not out here where I live. There's not a whole lot of other people to play with. Um, right now my daughter's home from college,
That's good.
which is nice. Yeah, yeah, she's home till the middle of January, and you know, what do? I get up really early, and I always drive down every morning. I drive down to the ocean, make sure it's
Beautiful.
still there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
okay, ocean's still there. That means we're okay. And then I come home and maybe get coffee for my wife and my daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
make sure the dogs and the cat are okay.
Yeah,
Just stuff. But I play a lot around
that's
the
good.
house. I play. I come down here in the basement, and because I don't want to drive them completely crazy, playing all the time. But yeah,
Cool.
I
What's
play
your
and I
what's
hope
your
oh,
what?
sorry. Go
No, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was
I
nothing.
was gonna say, what's your favorite gear right now?
Well, I've been playing a lot of mandolin,
Okay.
uh, uh, a lot. You know, I have some nice instruments. I was lucky. I started buying these what are now called vintage guitars, vintage instruments. Back in the late '60s, '70s when they were just used old weird stuff that nobody really wanted. I mean, the stuff was free back then.
Really?
I tell young people about when I first started, even in the early '80s when I'd go on the road with Daryl and John. This is before eBay or any of that stuff, before the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you went out in the middle of the country, like I remember Salt Lake City, there was one whole long strip of pawn shops. You could buy in one day like 10 or 15 really nice things, nice instruments,
I
for
love that.
nothing. Buy 10 or 15 things and spend $1,000, you know?
Yeah,
So I'm lucky. So I have some really good instruments, and I kind of rotate through them, to keep interested. And I
that's
play,
great.
play. I play around the house. I mostly play acoustic guitar,
Mm-hmm.
mandolin, and then I get the electrics out sometimes. Come down here and make some
Cool.
noise.
Yeah. Who are some musicians that inspired you growing up?
Um, well, I liked, like, at first, like I say, I was an acoustic guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
I was a folky. The folk music thing
Right.
was happening back then, and I cover a song that I learned back in those days on the Stony Hill record by Buffy St. Marie. It's a song called Codine, and I
Mm-hmm.
actually saw her perform when I was maybe 11 or 12. You know,
It's great.
uh, a cousin of mine took me to a show, and so I was very inspired by a lot of those people. Bob Dylan, right away, like when his
Mm-hmm.
first record came out, I saw it in the record shop, and I thought on the I don't know if you remember the cover of Bob's first record. He's there, he's got his guitar, and he's just kind of looking. He looks like he's about 15 on that cover, that first record, and I thought, well, hey, this guy, he's not that much older than me, and look, he's got a guitar like mine, and let me get this record, and I just loved it. So I could probably play you his first 10 records. I could probably play you every song. I just know all that stuff. And then
Amazing.
eventually I got to play with Bob.
Oh, you did?
Amazing, yeah. Played with him for several years while I was doing Saturday Night Live,
Mm.
which was pretty crazy, but
It must have been so surreal to be playing with Tom Petty,
it was.
meeting all these musicians, there they are.
Yeah, it was. When sometimes I'd find myself talking to George Harrison or Paul
Mm.
McCartney or something, and I would get that like surreal kind of,
Mm.
oh my God, is this real? Is this
Is this really
me?
happening? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is a Beatle. Or
Hmm.
I worked with Mick Jagger. I played on his first couple solo albums. And, you know, I loved the Stones. I
Mm.
listened to all those records. I learned all those Keith Richards guitar parts, Brian Jones, Mick Taylor. Um, to be, with those people, it was just David Bowie, same thing. I didn't do a whole lot of performing with David Bowie, but he was living in New York City at the time,
Hmm.
and we actually got to kind of be friends, and he'd call me up and say, let's go to the theater or something, or let's go do something, let's go have dinner, and it was nicest guy in the world, David Bowie. When David Bowie
What a,
smiled at you, you were smiled at. You
yeah.
knew you were smiled at.
Hmm.
Yeah, he was
What a friendship.
he was really something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I heard recently that there's a new documentary about Belushi.
I just saw that. Yeah, there's a new
Yeah.
documentary about John. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah.
What a time period to be on the show. Yeah.
Right. Well, I wasn't actually on the show in
At that
that,
time, I know.
but I was around because I was with
Yeah.
Gilda. So I was
Right.
there, and I got to know all those folks. I knew John, and
Yeah.
I spent time with him, Danny Aykroyd, and Bill Murray. Great guy. Still see Bill time to time here and there. Great guy.
It's
Real
amazing.
smart guy. Bill. Very intelligent
Anything
guy.
else you'd like people to know about you?
Uh, well, I would hope people like just go on YouTube and look G.E. Smith, LeRoy Bell, Stony Hill. Listen to some of the songs. I
Mhm.
think that there's some good stuff there. I think people would like it if they got to hear it. I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but give it a try.
I think it
YouTube's
sounds
free.
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you know what I didn't ask you is what was the process for the two of you putting these songs together? Did you write the lyrics together? I mean, I know he's the singer, but
Well, I would say most of the record LeRoy wrote. There's one song I wrote entirely. There's a
Mhm.
couple songs that I added some stuff to with LeRoy. Um, what we would do, it was like kind of the modern way of recording. A friend of mine out here on Long Island has a good studio, so we would go to his house, just me and LeRoy, and we would start with a drum beat. We would just have a beat that we wanted to work with, and electronically, digitally, we would put that together, put a drum
Okay.
track together. Then I would start putting a guitar on,
Mhm.
and LeRoy would do a vocal. Okay, now it's starting to sound like a song. We're
Yes.
building it like a cake or something.
Sure.
And I put the bass on maybe, or somebody would play bass, and then when we kind of got it all done and together, then we put a real drummer on it. Or some of the songs have one song has three drummers on it.
Three?
Yeah, three different. America, the song America
Oh, yeah.
has yeah, three different drummers. Sean Pelton, who's still on Saturday Night Live, great young drummer named Josh Dion, and a guy named Alex Alexander. They're all on there. So we would build it up like that, and then we'd either completely get rid of the electronic drums or maybe keep a little bit of it.
Mhm.
People are real used now to hearing electronic drums because
Right.
most records, unless it's really a band, most things we hear now, I hear those electronic drums in there, and they've got them so good now. It's real drum sounds programmed in, so they're using real drum sounds, and you're just building it
Yeah.
out of this huge catalog, this library of sounds,
Sure.
and you build your own parts.
No, it's amazing. I've been looking up Ableton Live and the digital audio workstations and how people
Yes,
take all the tracks of different things and the whole world.
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Look at people like Billie Eilish, her and her brother, right?
Right.
That make these, they're really good at constructing these records where, I'm pre-digital. So I come from that era when you
Yes.
had to get people to come in and play.
Right.
Um, but a good song is a good song. That's the thing. It always starts out with the song. It
Right.
still does. It's still
Yeah.
got to be a good song.
Have you always been a songwriter?
Well, I've always liked to put things together, sure, you know, you play and stuff comes up. And
Right. Yeah.
my favorite thing has always been getting to play with great singers, you know, and trying to do the best I can for their songs, whether it was, Bowie or Mick Jagger, or Daryl and John, Bob, Roger Waters, different people. These are people that have good songs.
Hmm.
So it makes it really easy to play and try to just support that song.
Yeah. I was curious as I'm listening to you talk about your background in guitar is what do you think makes a really solid guitar player? Because it's not necessarily how fast you can shred.
No, I don't think it's that at all. In fact, over the years, I've tried to slow down my playing. Neil Young said something to me one time about that, about playing slow, and it really made sense. Um, I think that what makes a really good guitar player is these. If they
Mm.
listen, you can't only listen to yourself. I think
Right.
I think it's really easy for guitar players to fall into that thing of kind of only listening to yourself.
Hmm.
Even when you're playing in a band, you get the song set. Okay, you know what everybody's doing. Now you don't think about them anymore, and you just think about your thing. Got to listen to everybody else
Hmm.
and play with them, and then it starts to sound like something. Like I always said that I don't just play the guitar, I play the band.
I like that.
The band is my instrument. I love to arrange things, and you know, and I think if I was ever successful at all, it was because of that. It was because of
That's yeah.
wanting to make the ensemble sound good.
I feel like you're very blessed to have found somebody to perform with because it is very hard to find a singer that you mesh with.
It is. It's hard. Singers, if they're good singers, they get grabbed up from their little hometown before anybody even hears about them. The first person that hears about them gets them, and that's it. They're gone.
Hmm.
Um, although the like everything else, there's so much more of everything now than there used to be. Like back in the '60s, there just weren't that many people doing it. Now there's zillions of because there's so many more people. So naturally, there's more people doing music,
Right.
and all kinds of music. There's so many great young performers. Like I've been listening to. There's a woman named Sarah Jarosz. Have you heard Sarah?
No,
Fantastic. She's nominated for a
I'll look her
Grammy
up.
this year. Sarah Jarosz.
Rose.
Uh, there's a young woman named Molly Tuttle, this amazing guitar player. She's amazing, she's a great singer too, but she's an amazing guitar player. Plays acoustic, like bluegrassy kind of stuff, but she can play anything. And I actually like go on YouTube and study her videos and like play along. And that's
Cool.
great. That's great.
See, so you could go collaborate with some of these people.
Well, probably I could, but who knows?
Why not?
We'll see. I actually did collaborate with Sarah Jarosz already. We've done a couple things with her. She's great.
That's really cool. And is that on YouTube?
Oh, Sarah, yeah, she's. I mean,
No,
like I said,
you with her.
no, maybe we did a show. Taylor thought of an idea a few years back. We do a show called Portraits,
Hmm.
where it's just one artist and me, and I play along with them. And we've had Roger Waters did one, only solo show he's ever done. This is like in a little tiny theater out here, 300 people. You know, people were coming from Germany and South America to see that. That was a big deal. Richard Thompson did one who's fantastic, but like the Avett Brothers did one. Now there wasn't just one artist, but it was the Avett Brothers,
Yeah.
and their band. It started out just being Scott, and then he said, "Hey, could Seth come?" I said, "Yeah, you can bring Seth. That'll be all right." You know, and then the band came.
And he's like, "What about?"
It just worked out. We just had so much fun. Dawes, great
Oh,
Los Angeles band. You know, Dawes,
yes. Oh,
great
yeah.
band. Taylor Goldsmith.
Mm-hmm.
We did, but then we also did them with Ethan Hawke. Did one. Now Ethan's from Texas. He's a guitar player and a songwriter, and he's really good.
Cool.
After that show, he was so good. He brought a couple of musicians with him, and we had a nice little band and we played. And after the show, I said, "Ethan, man, were you acting as, you know, the part of the guy with the guitar and stuff?" He said, "Kind of, I guess, but no, I really do that." I said, "I know you really do that. I'm just kidding you, you know." Ethan did one. Kevin Bacon, him and his brother Michael have a band called the Bacon Brothers.
They're good.
We did that. So the portrait show. So anyway, we did a portrait show with Sarah Jarosz, and yeah, that's probably on YouTube somewhere.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah.
And you and Taylor, do you perform? Were you performing?
We do. Taylor is a very good songwriter, singer-songwriter. She's done 10 or 11 CDs over the years, you know. We just had our 30th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Very cool. Last week. So yeah, when we used to be able to play places, yes, we would play.
Well, hopefully eventually sooner than later.
I think it's going to take about 6 months if all goes well. Hopefully by like May, June, we'll be up and playing. I just got a call today, and they booked a live show for the end of May.
Good.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get your website one more time for people.
Okay. Do I know what it is?
I have it on my show blog.
Yeah. Do you have
Is it gesmithmusic.com?
G. Smith Music. That's what it is. Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. I don't pay obviously too much attention. I'll get in trouble with Taylor, but she's so good at keeping the business stuff together. You know, like I said, she found LeRoy and she called LeRoy up and got him.
The two of you just complement each other.
Well,
really
most of the time, I think we do, you know, but yeah. But if you go on YouTube and put my name, there's lots of stuff just by virtue of that. I've been around for a while now, you know, so there's lots of videos of me playing with different people and in different situations.
I love it. Well, I really enjoyed this. I want to thank you so
Janeane.
much.
It's fun.
And when I can fly, because I often come to Manhattan or New York, different parts of New York, love to meet you in person sometime.
Yeah.
And when you do perform live, I'd love to be there.
Live, I love. Are those shoji screens back there behind you?
This
Japanese
is a
illusion. It's a backdrop. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
That's so cool. It fooled me.
it fools
Although
everybody.
I was trying to figure out the perspective is weird. That desk thing,
Isn't it?
how far in front of that desk is she sitting? It doesn't look.
I know. I should fix that, shouldn't I? You're
No,
good.
it's actually good because the stuff back, the other stuff in the back looks great. The shoji screens or whatever they are, they look great.
Yeah, pretty funny.
Yeah.